concern. We're going to be really watching that close this year. We met as a groundwater management plan committee this last week. We're really close to, we've been meeting as a board for 2 years. This would just apply to, it really applies to everywhere but Burrell, Newcastle, and Parowan. This just would apply to Enoch, Canaryville, Cedar City, those areas in the district that deals with the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District. But for the last 2 years, we've hammered out a deal with the state, and this has to do with water rights that are over allocated in the basin, mostly the Cedar Basin, and we're really close. As the state took our draft that we've kind of hammered out, and they redlined it, and it came back. And anyway, we voted on some things, and we're really close to signing that agreement. And another thing we're dealing with water, I've been working with Rob Dotson. He's the city manager for Enoch, great individual, and we're working. Something I've always wanted to do is we have about 2,800 acre feet of water that goes to the wastewater treatment plant. Our deficit in the Cedar Valley at least is about 7,000 acre feet, so it's about 40% of our deficit. But what we want to do is take that water. What we'd like to do is take that water. There's about 5 pivots. I think there was 6. I found out there's about 6 pivots to the east of the wastewater treatment plant. We have permission now to. There's a big power line that it's about 6,000 north, and Rocky Mountain said they'd work with us on an easement, and we'd like to run a water line from the wastewater treatment plant over to those pivots and supply the pivots with that type 2 effluent from the wastewater treatment plant and have those farmers idle their wells. And that's one of the most severe declines in our aquifer is the Enoch Graben area, and so that would really help that area. We would be using water that generally is just, some of it does perk in the aquifer, but most of it just sheet flows out in the phreatophytes, and it eats that up, and so it would be 100% recharge. So we're working on that. We're going to go to Santaquin is doing something like this with some orchards. They're using some of the reefs up there. We're going to go up and see. One of the concerns is with these farmers, and Alma would know about this, but if a farmer were to idle their wells, I think there's a law in the books that if they don't use that water for 7 years, they can reapply. But we want something to legislatively to guarantee these farmers, if they idle their wells, they don't have to worry about that. They can be guaranteed if they're doing that for a conservation type project, that they're guaranteed they're going to be made whole and not lose their water. Does that sound logical?
That's correct. And I wish the state wouldn't be so worried about everybody absolutely using all their water. That used to be the rule. Well, it still is the rule. But if somebody didn't develop the water, then another person would have the opportunity to do that. But with our overdrafting our aquifers, I wish we could get a bill to back off. If somebody's not using their water, then fine. They're not going to lose it for not using it. They may use it in the future, and leave that water in the aquifer. And so this is related to that, and I hope we can get something done there.
So we've been working on that, and just everything seems to take money. So we've got to find money to do some of those things. One thing that the Water District is also working on that's exciting is they thought they were close. They are close, but they've now got to get approval from the Army Corps of Engineers. If you look at Quichapa, you've got the south end of Quichapa and the north end, and the south end of Quichapa, for some reason, is the TDS, which is total dissolvable solids, which is basically the minerals in the water. Is up in the thousands, which is extremely high. I think the Quichapa TDS level for the water we use in Cedar Valley is around 300, which is exceptional. I think you can use water up to about 1,000 TDS for municipal. But so what they're looking at doing right now is building a dam in Quichapa and running the fresher water into the north end of the lake, and then pumping that water up and providing 2 pivots with water. I think Kerry Jones, I believe, owns those pivots. And Kerry's been very generous to the Water District in letting us use any land we want to for free. He's been very, very kind and generous, that family, and letting us just do whatever we really want out there on their property. And so the water district did tie water lines into his one pivot this year, and with the little bit of water we had in the spring, they were able to water his field. But this would actually, if we build a dam across Quichapa and run that cleaner water into the north end, we can then pump that water into our lazy river in that system, and then eventually feed both of those pivots, which we can, and that's really 100% recharge too, because we're providing him water, then he's gonna idle his well. So we're trying to use any water that's wasted that would normally just be evaporated, and we're always looking at ways to help with the water situation in our valley. The ice rink excavation is done up to Woods Ranch. There's a lot of excitement there. I know there was some questions about, there was a little bit of debate about, some were concerned about hurting the beauty and the tranquility of that place. But Marilyn Wood, her family, she piped up and said her family's the family that donated the land, and it was meant to be for recreation. And so there used to be an ice rink there back in the days, right? Yeah, back in the 70s, was it? And there's a lot of people that remember that and are really excited to have that. So I know that and I appreciate Commissioner Adams and the and the road department in helping us get that grading done. And let's see. So that's so anyway. I think the Yetis ordered their tarps and they got their dasher boards, and they're gonna when they get those, they'll get that set up. So hopefully it'll work out for them this year. So
As of this morning, they've got the cold to
yep,
freeze it.
they do have the cold. It is cold. But and that's all I have. So with that, we'll take a break and we'll reconvene this meeting at 10 o'clock. They sent that out to everybody. I didn't know you. I'd sent that invitation to you on that call, but this is scary because the Chinese are getting very aggressive with with lawsuits. Some there's counties that are getting sued, of compliance. They're really getting pushed.
No, that's a tough one. And if you're in agriculture, and I was county farm bureau president, and I know Sam Halderman is now, and he's upset about it. But
He's upset about.
well, there was an operation up there in Millard County, they approved it, and then I guess in midstream they changed from.
Right, and that was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was really bad, and they had 10 million in it, and I don't know if they've solved that or not, but anyway, excuse me, so I know that really had Farm Bureau, agriculture really upset.
Farm Bureau under the bus, but I know there's some.
No, you weren't. No, it's a highly charged. Because there's not a lot of agricultural opportunities in this state, and a lot of the properties being, built on and everything. Like where my daughter lives in Spanish Fork, they just houses have covered all the farms there. But so people that want to stay in agriculture are looking at these kind of concentrated animal operations. Pardon? You can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. Talking hot.
All right.
Anyway, Luigi, how you
Commissioner, how are
doing?
you? Good, how are you?
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Luigi, we met,
All cousins.
I think about a year ago, maybe.
Okay.
How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Really well. Yeah, he's heavily involved in solar. So.
Okay.
Appalachia Solar today on your agenda, and
Okay. Hey, how you doing?
Good. He's the one that put together.
Hey, do you know how to pause that?
Biggest in
We're
the
still
state
streaming.
For a
Can
short
you
time.
pause
Yes,
Right
it
here.
was.
We like having that distinction.
So that's why I was just gonna tell
this
you.
will now be the
Listening to that.
next biggest one in the state, and it should hold that distinction for a while, hopefully.
Yeah, 200 megawatt. This is 80 out here, and this
Yeah.
200. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, that's good.
So, are you a Utah now, or?
I am. I'm a Salt Lake resident.
Well, good. Maybe eventually we'll get you into the rural areas, huh? Thanks, Luigi.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing everything from up there. It's pretty, I mean, I love the rural country, but that's where I grew up.
I savvy. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, we were ever with him when he-
Eating a donut?
Yeah, I gotcha.
It was the biggest in Utah for a short period of time.
You know what it's Commissioner Bushman said, it's just, it's almost unbearable. Those people over there.
You want people out to Newcastle.
No, you don't want that.
And we, well, not just hogs out of Newcastle, it's a dairy, so the separation is much less. But we actually approved that on the thing in the ordinance that says if there's a prevailing wind, you can make it into an oblong instead of a circle. 'Cause it's a little too close to Newcastle. And, oh man, that's like, say that's cattle, it's just way less smelly than hogs, but it gets pretty unbearable out there sometimes. A couple of times when, middle of the winter, when there's kind of an inversion, I would say that I actually could smell just faintly.
Really?
It would never be something I'd complain about, but,
Even from Peril?
yeah. I'm going, pretty sure that's probably that. Very, very, very rarely. But it had to be, inversion, 'cause we had that prevailing wind. Anyway.
They're we're pretty worked up.
The place we got them in Iron County, that was good, way out.
How are you?
But the hog people.
We're trying to figure out why we're streaming audio but not video. Is this the new?
That's the new one.
Very good.
So they're always looking for places to get.
I guess Danny's gonna make it
Separation.
too.
Yeah, he wasn't planning on it, but I was glad to hear that.
How long?
So-
You guys get to see me.
Like miles?
Well,
between
yeah,
operations?
miles.
Hey, that's all right. I'm glad that, I'm proud of solar in Iron County, so.
At the very far end of.
Well, and I was just telling Commissioner Adams that now a Utah resident.
Oh, I had heard that. Moved from,
Big changes.
yeah, well, you got your first good taste of cold this week.
Other than
Yeah,
Beaver.
oh, I was here last
Yeah.
year too.
Oh, okay, okay.
It should be far enough from Beaver, and usually it kind of blows,
Cool.
sometimes it comes straight out of the
Like
south.
figuring it out.
Oh, thank you. We'll have to, I want to visit with you.
Probably be
Yeah.
okay, for some kind of operation out there on the very end. But
Is Farm Bureau just worried about protecting the mom and pop farmers? Is that why
they are, yeah. I mean, they're an advocate. for-
You'd think there'd be some setting in a
So,
scene,
so,
but I don't know how you
I'll have
do
to
that.
admit that Farm Bureau, just like any other organization, sometimes isn't as objective as they should be. But they're not idiots, though. I mean, when I used to go to Farm Bureau conventions, and I'll probably start going again now, I'm not so busy, but, they would warn about changes, hey, you need to be careful about this, and you need to be careful about that, because we want to continue in agriculture, but if you don't, if you don't take care of your neighbors, and be a good neighbor, then you're gonna be in trouble. So they're not, hard nosed, but
Screw anything up.
it's a balancing act. We got 7 billion people in this world, and we gotta produce food.
They say they send
If you
about
don't have
90
food, then all of a sudden, that's a lot worse than smelling a stink.
They send about 90% of the meat to China.
Oh, yeah. I always thought.
See, and I have no.
Certainly for executive
Somebody
session.
that moved in next to a dairy operation, builds a subdivision and starts whining.
No.
I have 0 tolerance. for it,
Yeah. But yet down in Chino, California, there was 500 dairies down there, and they basically all left, thinking about it, because they